A powerful storm tore through Rome, Italy late Tuesday evening, drenched the capital in torrential rain and battered with violent wind and hail. The tempest, which lasted less than an hour, caused severe flooding, damaged historic landmarks, and left thousands without power. In just 14 minutes, parts of the city recorded over 17 millimeters of rainfall, overlapped drainage system and transformed incident streets into rivers. Cars were left stranded near the Colosseum and Piazza Venezia, while torrents of water surged through the Trastevere and Prati district. It felt apocalyptic, said Marco De Angelis, the shop owner in the city center. I saw lightning strike in the Tiber River and the sky turned and the electric white. The noise was different. Authorities reported hundreds of emergency calls across the metropolitan area. Firefighters worked through the night, rescuing motorists, cleaned up fallen trees and pumped water from the underground garages. Public transport was heavily disrupted. Several metro lines suspended severe after tunnels flooded. Meteorologists blamed the event and the sudden Mediterranean cyclone intensified by unusually warm temperatures. This is not a typical storm, explained the Dr. Luisa Ferrara, a climatologist at Rome Tor Vergata University, where witnessed more the aggressive atmospheric system linking the warm climate. What was happening once decade now happening yearly. Videos showed online showed hail of the size of a coin pelting the Spanish steps and lightning bolts illuminated the dome of St. Peter Balska. Emergency scenes echoed across the city. The storm cell moved through, leaving a trail of debris in its wake. Tourist areas included Termina were temporarily evacuated, and the boats of the harbor were secured against the winds and waves. Meteorologists explained that the storm was uploaded by the Mediterranean low-pressure system, cooling with a humid warm air from Africa. This combination produced extremely violent storm in short time, said Dr. Antonio Latour, a weather expert in Sicily. Experts alike the becoming more frequent due to climate change. Agriculture losers are expected to be significant, with the olive groves, vineyard, and citrus orange damaged by the hail flooding. Local farmers have already called for the emergency relief and the offsite and economic impact. Authority urged residents to remain indoors, avoid flooded roads, and follow emergency advisory. Mayor Lever Orlando stressed by the importance of immediate cleanup efforts of reinforced to need the better flood prevention infrastructure across Italy. As the storm subsided, Sicilians surveyed for the damage, cleared debris, and braced for the next birth and unpredictable weather, a stark reminder of the island's vulnerability to extreme Mediterranean storms. Power outage were reported in Ostia, said Giovanni, and a motor rail by a fallen branch and lightning struck damaged power lines. Meteorologists from Arpa, Lizzo confirmed from the event was caused by explosion mixture from warm Mediterranean air colliding with a cold northern front. Such extreme hailstorms were previously rare in central Italy, said Dr. Gianni Bellini, a climatologist. But we are seeing a clear increase in the frequency and intensity, a direct signal of climate warning. The hailstorms did not spur the city landmark. Hail accumulated near the Colosseum, tuning the incident's amplifier with the surreal white ring with the tourist soul shelters under the 8. St. Peter's Square glistened with the ice, and drainage system could not cope with the flood, inundating parts and vacation. Meteorologists from Italy's Severe Protection Agency described the storm as one of the strongest in recent years. The combination of warm, moist air from the Mediterranean and a cold front from the north caused extensive instability, explained meteorologist Marco De Angelis. Such supercell systems are becoming more frequent due to climate change. Authority urged residents to stay indoors and avoid flood streets, warning to even more severe weather expected in the end of weekend. Cleanup efforts are underway, with the city worker clearing debris in the hill from clogged storm drains. Major Roberto Gilardi called the situation as a wake-up call for climate change preparedness. Rome is not used to such violent weather, he said. We must adapt to infrastructure and protect cities to preserve and heritage. Venice, the city of water, was forced yet another violent test of survival. The powerful storm system swept across northern Italy this week, striking Venice with a torrential rain, hurricane-force winds and dramatic flooding that would reinforce over the city's long-term future. Overnight, thunder echoed across the lagoon with the wind gusts tapping 110 km/h, battering the ancient city. The down water level had stretched to 115 centimeters, high enough to submerge much of St. Mark Square and spill into historic buildings. It was a chaos, said resident Marco De Angelis. The wind was howling and the water was everywhere. We couldn't ever open our door. Authority activated the most flood barrier system, the multi-billion-euro defense designed to protect Venice from high tides. But even this was engineering marvel struggling to contain the ferocity of the storm. Engineers confirmed that several guests shattered with minor malfunction, allowing water to seep into vulnerable zone. Local businesses are counting heavy losers. Coffee, art, galleries, and luxury hotels along the Grand Canal were flooded with the hour.
Eccoci qua, è arrivata la prima pioggia. Spende pure luce la piazzetta.
Authority estimated damage running into millions of euros. Meteorologists attribute the storm in the clash in the humid Mediterranean air with a cold front northern front, creating a supercell system capable of relaxing extreme energy over the short period. Social media exploded with the dramatic footage of hail bouncing the historic parades streets, resembling the ice rivers and residents walking through the water to reach safety. Authority urged citizens to remain indoors and emergency crew working throughout the night to clear roads to restore electricity. By evening, Sicily town most cursed the storm approached trees, flooded streets and damaged homes, several stark remind of nature's unpredictable power. Residents' capacity returned to assess the destruction, capturing haunting image of Mediterranean island under assault from the elements. A sudden and intense hailstorm swept across Sicily on a Tuesday afternoon, leaving streets submerged, vehicles damaged, and residents scrambling for the shelter. Meteorologists reported that the storm was followed by the warm Mediterranean air cooling with a cold front from the north, causing heavy rainfall, hailstorms up to gulf both sides, and strong winds had battered to the island. Palermo, Catania, and Messina were among the hardest hit cities. Streets quickly flooded and traffic came to standstill, and a heat shattered car windows and dented rooftops. "I've never seen hail like this in my life," said Giuliano Marino, in a local shop owner in Palermo. "The noise was different, and water was rising within minutes." The protest zone, Sicily Civil Protection Authority received hundreds of emergency calls for stranded motorists, fallen trees and damaged properties. Several small rivers in province overflowed. forced temporary evacuation in low-lying neighborhoods. Minor injuries were trapped from slip and hail impact. Agriculture area also suffered significant losses. On Wednesday afternoon, a sudden and violent hailstorm hit Rome, forced residents and tourists to seek shelters, and a peace pelted the city. The streets were quickly covered with a thick layer of hail, turning iconic locations such as Pisa, Navona, Valle di Corso, and Trastevere into frozen pools. Witnesses described the storm as absolutely terrifying. Gianni Rossi, a local taxi driver, said, "I lived in Rome all my life, but I have never seen anything like this. Cars were damaged and a hailstorm bouncing on the roof like bullets." Emergency service reported more than 400 calls, including people trapped in the cars, flooded names, and a fallen trees blocked major road. While the Foucault warmed round the clock to clear the streets and help residents, several metro stations, including Repubblica and Barbary, were temporarily closed due to water entering the tunnel, leaving passengers stranded. Authorities confirmed minor injuries from the hail strikes and slippery sidewalk. Meteorologists explained that the storm was a result of rapid interaction between the most Mediterranean air and a cold northern front, creating extremely unstable conditions. The classic connective supercell storm, short-lived but extremely intense. The intensity described as expansional, the combination of warmish, shoe-laden air from the Mediterranean Sea and southern cold front from the Alps causing the explosive storm accompanied by hail and intense electrical activity. Major locality declared a state of emergency, mobilized hundreds of municipal workers to clear fallen debris and unblocked roads. Rome drainage infrastructure could not cope with the heat and unbladed to press conference. This storm has once again demonstrated how vulnerability our city is to extreme weather conditions. Public transportation in the capital was severely disrupted. Metro lines A and B were particularly suspended, and trains from Terni station were delayed in several hours due to flooded tracks. Schools in the several districts were closed the following day safety checks. Video posted online showed residents wading through the waist-deep water by stuck in the middle of the streets in hailstones the size of marble pelting parked car. On Tuesday evening, a powerful thunderstorm swept across Rome, Italy, bringing torrential rain, stormy winds and lightning and plunging the capital into chaos. In a matter of minutes, the calm late summer sky turned stormy, and torrential rain pouring down the historic streets caused sudden flooding, traffic paralyzing, and widespread power outage. Widespread described the storm as apocalyptic. Cars were stuck on flooded streets around the Villa Appia and Piazza Venezia. The several metro lines were forced to close due to flooding. "I saw manhole covers being blown by the pre-show," said Julia DeSantis, owner of shop near Terni station. "The water flooded the shops faster than could back the door." Villa the Funco de Italia Pie and the rescue service reported more than 400 emergency calls across the capital. Streets were uprooted, debris littered major roads, and parts of roofs were blown by the strong gusts of winds. In the Trastevere, firefighters rescued severe residents who were trapped to their cars, and the weather rose to dangerous levels.
Guardate come piove, come nevica passa.
A meteorological from the Italian Air Force Meteorological Service analyzed this extreme weather as resulting from the unusual collisions between warm Mediterranean air and the cold front moving south from northern Europe. He noted that climate change is increasingly the frequency of such patterns. Forecaster Luca Perry stated, intense convecting activity is occurring frequently, warning that storm could hit neighboring areas over the next few days. The hailstorm also caused delays at Rome Flamenco Airport, with the several incoming flights temporarily diverted. City workers that become clearing clothing drain and removing debris to prevent further flooding. As more rain was forecast overnight, experts noted that this storm served as stark reminder of Italy's vulnerability to rapidly intensify weather patterns, highlighted the growing impact of climate change to southern Europe.
Metro di neve. 22 maggio 2000.
Several roads were closed and flash floods combined with a thick layer of hail turned into highway into slippery, impossible surface. The damage to agriculture is catastrophic. Vineyard in Veneto and orange in Madeira have suffered total losers, with the farmers estimated damage at over 200 million euros. Years to work destroyed in 20 minutes, said winemaker Matteo Galli. We have never seen such large hailstones. They punched holes in a metal roof. Meteorologists from Italy's National Meteorological Agency explained that the intense collision of most Mediterranean air and cold northern winds created a supercell, a rotating thunderstorm capable of producing giant hailstorm and a sudden gust of winds. The temperature dropped by more than 10 Celsius in less than an hour, shocking residents who were enjoying a midsummer events. Hospitals in several provinces treated dozens of people took cuts of berries from the broken glass and ice. Fortunately, no deaths were reported, although local officials warning to such extreme weather events are becoming more common. Italy is becoming increasingly vulnerable to violent weather, say climatologist Dr. Lucia Ferrara. Rising sea temperatures in the Mediterranean are contributing to stronger and faster developing storms. At dawn, residents took to streets and found their streets covered in ice, cars damaged, windows broken and crews destroyed. For many Italians, it was a stark reminder of the growing instability of nature and warning for the storm to come. Environmental scientists warn that such extreme weather events and parts of the trend accelerated climate change. Professor Gianna Volpe of the University of Rome noted the Mediterranean is warming faster than most of the planet. He explained it, warning seas supplied by store the atmosphere near Turin storms, the most relentless in emergency as a destructive hail. As Italy begins recovery efforts, authorities have declared a state of emergency in the multiple regions. Damage is estimated to be the hundreds of millions of euros, and the official warned that more extreme weather could continue over the coming weeks. Rome, Italy. Rome was thrown into chaos as a sudden violent hailstorm struck at the city, transforming its cobblestone streets into rivers of ice and leaving a scene of destruction and astonishment. The storm arrived without warning late in the afternoon, bringing hailstones the size of large coins, thunder, lightning and torrential rain. Meteorologists from Italy's National Meteorological Agency described the phenomenon as one of the most intense collective storms to hit the Lazio region in recent years. Senior meteorologist Dr. Elena Moretti stated, "The combination of extreme heat and the sudden cold front triggered explosive atmospheric instability. Within the minutes, the sky darkened, and a hail pounded the city with a different force. Vehicles were damaged, white shields shattered, and roofs became impossible under a layer of ice. Fire departments received over 1,400 emergency calls, responded to rescue trapped drivers and pump out water from subway station and underground parking garage. Rome Civil Protection Agency urged residents to stay indoors and flash flood hits the San Giovanni Trastevere. Experts warn that such events are becoming more frequent due to climate change, especially in the southern Europe. Palermo Major Robert Lavacala called the government assistants say this is no longer a seasonal storm. This is a climate emergency. We need to urgent investment in infrastructure and prevention. No casualties have been confirmed, but dozens of people have been received medical attention and injured in the shock. The Italian government has promised to assess the damage and provide funds to clean up in the coming days. Sicily is beginning in lightly clean up the stormy stark reminder of increasing unpredictability of nature in the face of global warming. In Messina, landslides blocked major highways, isolated several mountains villages. Farmers in Surrey reported several damaged crops with the olive groves and a vineyard underwater. One of the local farmers, Antonio Bellini, said, "We have lost half of our harvest. We haven't seen rain like this in 40 years." Temporary shelters were set up in community center and church for families who were forced to leave their homes. Volunteers are working around the clock to distribute food, blankets of our necessities.
Non ci credo.
Residents found themselves stranded in their homes waiting for rescue teams to arrive. The heat of Italy, Rome and entire city forced in all shared challenges at the Colosseum, an enduring symbol of Rome history, stood the silent weather the raging storm as a rain and wind threatening to erode an incident for decades. Trees turned into rivers and historic basins became waterloo that caused extensive damage of city infrastructure. Italian authorities renovated the apocalyptic response to time of crisis point of action. Emergency service working tirelessly to rescue those trapped in the rising floodwaters and restore essential service. Helicopters, however, over-submerged areas, airlifting residents to safety. The firefighters braved elements to reach those in need. Culture representative warned that the addition of psychological storm urged me to adapt to climate change needed to prevent Sicily identified the tourist economy. This is a symbol act of unity in the consulate across the Sicily. Ron Bale, some territory as noon Tuesday, a moment of silence of victims assigns strange to serious. Sicily and no stranger to hardship. From the earthquake to volcanic eruption, they have endured a lot, but this storm, many say, was different, not just a natural disaster but climate warning. Should it the wind and the water. Storm winds with the cyclone rotation around the lowland between Basilicata and Campania when it gets up to 100 km/h in the lower Tyrrhenian Sea. Sicilian, Ionian and Adriatic stratus as the result of strong winds surge along the open coast. The situation is less critical in the West Mons basins and the Upper Tyrrhenian Sea, but weather is raging in Lazio, but not only there. Strong storms surge throughout Italy and snow at the well low altitude. The sea is stormy off the coast of Ponza in the ferry connecting of the island Formia and the Marquis of the Waves. The ship brought to the Formia left an hour late today. By evening it was still and the road can left Ponza at 3:13 p.m. It is expected to arrive Formia around 8:45 p.m. Rome, Italy was hit by unprecedented hailstorm, surprising and catching locals by tourists of Guad. The storm brought heavy rain, lightning and hailstorm the size of a golf ball, caused damage of cars, homes and businesses. Witnesses reported hearing long bands of the hailstorm stuck roofs and windows. Many took to social media share photos and video of severe storm, with some experienced disbelief as such weather could occur in a normally sunny sea. Sicily was hit a severe storm that swept across the island overnight, causing torrential rain, storms, winds, and widespread flooding. Palermo, Catania, and several smaller towns were worst affected, with the streets thrown into raging rivers, and entire neighborhoods were left without power. Residents reported panic as the water flooded historic city center. It was terrible. In a matter of minutes, the water rose above the car's doors. We had to abandon the vehicles, said Salvatore Russa, the driver from Palermo. Emergency service carried out dozens of rescue operations, including rescuers, families trapped in their homes and motorists stuck in the underpasses. Authority temporarily closed schools and government offices in several municipalities as prediction to Sicily Civil Protection Agency declared a highest level of water alert. At least one hospital of Catania reported flooding in the lower floors, forcing staff and relocate patients. The storm also dealt a serious blow to agriculture, damaging olive groves, citrus, orange and vineyards, while left to blockburn the island economy. Farmers estimated to damage of millions of euros, further complicating the situation in a region that already struggled with the drought to beginning of a year. Flights to and from Palermo to Catania airports were delayed and cancelled, and a ferry service between Sicily and mainland Italy was suspended to several hours due to rush seas. Meteorologists are linking this storm to a powerful Mediterranean cyclone, sometimes called the Medicon, from the form to the warm seawater full intense weather system. Experts warn that the climate change is making such events more frequent and destructive. The president of the Sicily region promised rapid assistance to the affected communities, stretching the urgent need to strategic flood protection. This storm has once again demonstrated the vulnerability our island in us. We must do decisively to protect life and livelihood, he said. Sicily was hit a severe storm that swept across the island overnight, causing torrential rain, storms, winds, and widespread flooding. Palermo, Catania, and several smaller towns were worst affected, with the streets thrown into raging rivers, and entire neighborhoods were left without power. Residents reported panic as the water flooded historic city center. It was terrible. In a matter of minutes, the water rose above the car's doors. We had to abandon the vehicles, said Salvatore Russa, the driver from Palermo. Emergency service carried out dozens of rescue operations, including rescuers, families trapped in their homes and motorists stuck in the underpasses. Authority temporarily closed schools and government offices in several municipalities as prediction to Sicily Civil Protection Agency declared a highest level of water alert. At least one hospital of Catania reported flooding in the lower floors, forcing staff and relocate patients. The storm also dealt a serious blow of the agriculture, damaging olive groves, citrus, orange, and vineyards, while left bloodborne the island economy. Farmers estimated to damage of millions of euros, further complicating the situation in a region that already struggled with the drought to binging of a year. Flights to and from Palermo to Catania airports were delayed and cancelled, and ferry service between Sicily and mainland Italy was suspended to several hours due to rush seas. Meteorologists are linking this storm to a powerful Mediterranean cyclone, sometimes called the Medican, from the form to the warm sea water full intense weather system. Experts warn that the climate change is making such event more frequent and destructive. The president of the Sicily region promised rapid assistance to the affected communities, stretching the urgent need to strategic flood protection. This storm has once again demonstrated the vulnerability our island in us. We must do decisively to protect life and livelihood.